blow that building up. This wall. We're just gonna blow some stuff up and hopefully that'll look cool.
This video is brought to you by the #1 website builder, Squarespace.
Hi guys, I'm Zack Snyder, and we're going to break down my new film, Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire.
It really shouldn't be so easy to dislike Zack Snyder. He's just going along and making his own dreams come true. How could we not love that a young little Zack went along as a little boy to watch Star Wars and dreamed of one day making his own Star Wars film? And he grows up to make those dreams come true. Well, I mean, Disney did reject his Star Wars pitch, so his Star Wars, Rebel Moon, is very separate from the world of Luke Skywalker.
Luminous beings, Zoe, not this crude matter.
We basically had these LED discs plugged into the barrel, and then when you fired the gun, that flare is real.
And I've always got to give him a chance because I'll always enjoy his Dawn of the Dead remake. That's one of the best horror movie remakes around. Mind you, Zack had nothing to do with the writing for that one. Dawn of the Dead 2004 was all James Gunn's writing, and it shows, because it's actually fun to watch.
Rosie O'Donnell, tell him to get Rosie.
Oh yeah, Rosie.
Nah, too easy. Give him something hard.
So then you think Zack Snyder can't be all bad, and then you go and watch something like Army of the Dead, and the hate starts growing, knowing that you'll never get those 148 horrible minutes back. But we have to calm down a bit. Nothing will ever be as bad as Army of the Dead. Well, Rebel Moon says, hold my beer, bitch.
What do you think they want?
Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, oh look at that fucking fire word in there, don't they? Has to be one of the most unpleasant experiences I've had getting through a film. And for what?
I give you one chance to just turn and walk away.
At its worst, Army of the Dead had lots of moments to laugh at.
I was thinking artisan grilled cheese sandwiches.
Artisan grilled cheese.
Well, there's none of that joy in Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon doesn't even have the decency to entertain us on a comedic level. And another thing Army of the Dead has over Rebel Moon, the cast of Army of the Dead wasn't oddly off-putting, and some of them actually had some charisma. There were people there that were enjoyable to watch, something that's definitely lacking in Rebel Moon.
That's crossing the line.
Which has some of the worst casting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not helped by the star. Our Rebel Moon lead has two facial expressions. Both are just a variation on the other, and neither suits any scene or portrays any emotion we understand.
Hey, bring down one more Iraqi!
It's a combination of scared confusion bordering on tears that I think is meant to convey a deep and painful past. But in reality, looks like she's just eaten some dodgy street souvlaki and is trying not to think about how badly she needs to evacuate her bowels. Our hero is also an elite trained soldier who somehow got through all that training without gaining any muscle whatsoever. I've seen breadsticks with more muscle than her arms. And this is where again the hate for Zack Snyder starts to rise. Zack is 100% on board with the modern Hollywood correct casting rules. The casting decisions that are purely made so the delusional soy-filled section of the audience can feel good about themselves. We start the film with our stick insect working the fields by hand. Again, somehow she's stayed quite petite.
I just thought.
You thought.
And then 10 minutes later, she's beating up multiple trained men who are 3 times her size. But that just sums up Hollywood these days, where the small but righteous are magically stronger than the muscle-built Nazis, no matter how tiny their little arms are. And it's not just our lead. Strangely, one of the soldiers has the exact same physique as her. He must have been training quite as hard as his fellow comrades. These two look like they'd have trouble carrying in the shopping with the exact same physique. But somehow they both beat up the large white baddies because they are large white baddies. There's a reason why professional fighting has weight divisions, and why women don't fight men professionally.
This dude invited listeners, women only, to show up at a boxing ring and fight him for free concert tickets.
Now, before I get accused of being a woman-hating, basement-dwelling weirdo, let me explain a couple of things. For one, we don't have basements in Australia. And I have no problem with her being highly skilled with weapons or a master tactician. There's other ways of showing strength without it just being brute strength. We watched the bride kick ass for 2 whole films, and not once did her survival come down to brute strength. Especially brute strength against men twice her size. She won every fight with her skills. And another thing the bride never did, and that was scream for no reason during a fight. There was a time when films used to allow women to show real emotions while also being shown to be strong. Now sexist Hollywood thinks that the only way women can show strength is by screaming, which just seems to show that they have a lack of control. There you go, ladies. Hollywood is always on your side. Well, at least they pretend they are. But quickly, that time of year has come around fast again. The holiday season, the end of another year. The time of year where you think, I hope things get better next year. Well, don't let next year suck. Take it by the horns and make it your best year yet with that amazing idea you have or that business you want to take off. And it's easy to do with Squarespace, the #1 website builder that makes it easy to get yourself in front of the world. You might have an awesome product you want to sell. It may be you or your talents you want to share to start generating cash. With Squarespace, you can have a killer professionally designed website that you can easily manage and edit yourself, won't cost you a fortune, and best of all, it can be up and running within hours. Just sign up for a free trial, choose one of their professionally designed templates, and make it your own with the ease of drag and drop design using their amazing tool, Fluid Engine. Add photo galleries, portfolios, and eye-catching video backgrounds. Set up a store to sell directly to your customers, or if digital content is your thing, Squarespace has a members area where you can monetize your own content right on your own website. Say no middleman taking bloody 20%. You can now even set up online courses with multimedia lessons, progress tracking, and flexible pricing. You can make passive income by sharing the knowledge you already have. And Squarespace also provides secure payments and client invoicing. No other website builder can give you all of that. Next year's starting to look pretty good, my friend. Go to squarespace.com/robothead and try Squarespace today for free. And then when you're ready to launch, use the code ROBOTHEAD and you will get 10% off your first purchase. See the link below. Make 2024 your year by going to Squarespace today. We even have our male lead, I think he is, we don't learn much about these characters. We have him become the damsel in distress so that she can save him. She does that by beating up this large monster dude. A monster dude that wanted to get inside our little farmer here. A monster dude that, mind you, didn't flinch when the so-called man punched him. Yet, she beats him up with ease. Now, if she wasn't the size of a twig, we could go along with it. But this is pandering to idiots filmmaking. So tiny androgynous looking actors who can barely act is what we get.
I'm looking for information.
But at the other end of the scale of the physical presence, we get Conan's special needs cousin.
Yeah.
I know Arnie's body was made in the gym, but my God, he looked like he really had been pushing that wheel for years. This guy looks like he's never done a workout that wasn't performed on plush carpet. He looks like he's had every muscle tightly defined on the latest Nautilus machine before having the fat around his tits lipoed out. Anyway, back to the crazy fantasy world that has real-life Nazis. That's right, this film has wall-to-wall Nazis. Where George Lucas took the image of the National Socialist Party and presented it in a futuristic sci-fi way, Zack reverses that idea by copying George, but just dressing them like earthly German soldiers, including their ties, shirts and haircuts. And Zack's not just happy copying that idea, he even tries to do the Inglourious Bastards opening. How exciting to have a futuristic space fantasy and the scary weapon is a stick. But originality has never been Zack's strong point, which wouldn't be a problem if everything he did just improved on the original. But that's not Zack's way. He turns everything into a drab, ugly, horrible experience that seems to go on forever. This film felt 4 hours long, so I dread to think what watching his director's extended cut's going to feel like. Rebel Moon is about a small farming planet, moon, whatever, that is on the outer rim of the galaxy ruled by an evil empire. I've heard that somewhere before. The costume department really are taking the piss on this one. Everything is fine, our little farming outpost, until the evil empire turns up demanding grain. Fucking grain. That's nearly as interesting as fuel problems in space.
Very good, sir. They won't last long burning fuel like this.
This leads to our flat, non-emoting hero heading off with one villager on a quest to hire mercenary rebels to fight the space Nazis and protect the village. A story we've seen many times before in much better films.
Clap your hands and let's see how fast you are.
Now, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by other great stories and films. It's a good place to start, but lifting their stories whole and dumping them into your fantasy space adventure causes some real issues with plausibility. Getting yourself some hired guns to protect your town from outlaws who are on foot or horseback is one thing. Being gravity-bound and lacking power really evens the odds. Hiring a handful of mercenaries to protect a small town and take on the all-ruling empire from space, well, that's an idea that a child that's watched Star Wars and the Magnificent Seven would come up with.
Kid, you might have been hurt.
While the heroes in Rebel Moon are off collecting their friends, I'm surprised the Empire hasn't just wiped out this village already. The lack of communication from their dead ground party should be already setting off alarm bells. But if for some stupid reason in this galaxy they can't communicate with their mothership, when the space Nazis do find out that their landing party were all murdered, well, they're just going to nuke the town from space. How is this party of people whose skills we don't even know? Well, one's got some light-up laser sword things that seem familiar.
She can also fight with them not on, and she does a lot of fighting before she turns them on, because once she turns them on, they're kind of deadly.
What are they going to do against spaceships blowing up the town? Let's look at it this way. Seeing as this was meant to be a Star Wars story, let's use that as an example. Vader faced little resistance from the rebels, who had many soldiers, blasters, snow speeders, and a cannon at the Battle of Hoth. How quickly would Vader wipe out this town protected by the village people and one Chippendale? But we have to remember this is a Zack Snyder story, so none of it's going to make bloody sense. It's more important he gets in his lens flare and slow-mo, the only things he really does care about. You know you've really peaked as a filmmaker when during one of your slow-mo shots, you go into super slow-mo. Because those other 50 slow-mo shots you've already put in the film just ain't quite enough.
Yes, sir. Hey.
So, that's the whole story for Rebel Moon Part 1. Our heroic lead flies from one planet to the next, meets a new character, the character instantly joins them on their quest, and we move on to the next person. We don't learn anything about their personalities, we hardly see them interact with each other. It's what I imagine a film written with AI is going to look like. Stupid action scenes strung together, with minimal script inserted in between to slow it down. But somehow slow this film is. Zack gives us very little character development, or even character interactions. No humour, no flirting, nothing. There is nothing for us to hold on to moving forward. We even have one of the so-called main characters die, sacrificing himself to save the others. And no one could possibly care because we know nothing about him. We literally learn more about a robot's personality than we do any of the other characters. A robot that fucks off in the first act and we don't see again till the end of the film.
Thank you. That is kind.
And don't anyone dare tell me that it's okay that nothing happened, because this is the first film in a series. 2 hours is easily long enough to set up a new universe and also give us an engaging story. You know, like what films have done since cinema began.
I've been planning and working on this epic story for over 30 years.
But when it's all said and done, nothing I say here will sway anyone either way. As much as some people dislike a Zack Snyder film, others can't get enough of them. Everything I hate, the casting, the over-the-top slow-mo, the ugly, claustrophobic sets, the colour tones, the abused, shallow depth of field, all of the ugliness. To some, Zack Snyder's the pinnacle of filmmaking.
Yeah.
The Zack Snyder fans are going to love this bloody film. But for me, Rebel Moon Part 1 was a worse viewing experience than Army of the Dead, and that's quite an achievement. Rebel Moon Part 1 is far from a Star Wars movie. It has no heart, no message, there's no light and shade, no romance, no humour. There's hardly a bloody story. It's just another Zack Snyder film. A bro dude who has no idea how to tell a good story and who really wants to just blow shit up and look cool. Trouble is, Zack has no idea what cool is.
Blow that building up, this wall. We're just going to blow some stuff up and hopefully that'll look cool.